Well, I think it sends a message that if somebody engages in this type of behavior, it's a very serious crime, strangulation. As I said in the sentencing hearing, that this could lead to death in a matter of minutes. So I think it does send a deterrent message to people who would engage in those types of crimes, and hopefully it gets the point across that if you engage in this behavior, you will go to jail.
You had some very powerful statistics as far as domestic violence here in New Hampshire.
Yes.
Maybe you could share some of them?
Sure. Well, the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Committee, I'm the chairperson of it, and we, every couple of months we review a domestic violence homicide in the state of New Hampshire, one that's, if there was a trial, the trial is completely over, to see if we can come up with some suggestions to hopefully reduce and eliminate, domestic violence related, not just homicides, but crimes as well. So we look at each case and see, what were the red flags, what could we do, what could have been done differently to prevent this from happening. So yeah, strangulation cases, as I said, the latest report that we had from the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Committee was 22% of the domestic violence homicides in New Hampshire were caused by strangulation.
And do you think this was a fair sentencing, given all the circumstances?
Yeah, obviously the state's a little disappointed. We were looking for state prison time, not only for the punishment aspect of it, but for the, just so he is monitored too once he gets out of jail or prison. But the probation aspect of it will ensure that he's monitored as well, to make sure that, he continues to hopefully do what he's been doing. And as I said in the hearing, I do appreciate his efforts at addressing whatever underlying issues that he had that caused him to engage in this violent behavior. And I do hope that he does get the help and continue to get the help that he needs. And obviously the victim as well. We want to make sure that she is able to fully recover from this as well. And I applaud her courage in doing what she did and getting herself out of that dangerous situation and going to the police and making sure that he is held accountable for what he did to her.
I thought it was pretty stark. You heard her impact statement saying she wakes up nightmares, panic attacks, and then on the other hand you hear his side saying it's rewarding, I flew in a plane. Does this show the pain that the survivor still kind of goes through forever?
Right.
It's pretty stark when you heard the two different impact statements.
Right, and that's what struck me, and that's why I said, the rehabilitation aspect of sentencing is to help the defendant. The punishment helps the victim heal, so they know that if somebody does these horrific acts to them, they will be punished and they will lose their freedom for however long, whether it's 6 months or whether it's 1 to 3 years in the state prison.
Did Mr. Sparks have a prior history, record with domestic violence?
No, he did not. His record was clean with respect to domestic violence. As I indicated in the sentencing hearing, he had one minor charge from about 20 years ago, which is, negligible in respects to what we were sentencing him for today.
So this was the first conviction since then?
Right,
Gotcha.
Yes.
Do you think any other victims will come forward?
I hope so. I hope it encourages victims to know that if they're in this extremely dangerous situation, that they recognize it, because a lot of times people tend to minimize. As you heard, it wasn't a felony level offense until 2010. Well, this hopefully will give victims the knowledge to say, it's not, well, he just put his hands around me for a minute. Minute or two could mean your life, or at least losing consciousness and perhaps causing some permanent damage. So hopefully it will encourage victims to recognize the lethality of strangulation. And again, as I cited in my statistics that I had, if you are a victim of strangulation, the odds increase 750% that you could be a victim of a homicide in a domestic violence situation. That is staggering.